Hello, I'm Simon.
And I'm Dan.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article and we talk about what we find. Daniel, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Simon, we're talking about speed limiter.
Oh,
yeah.
Speed limiter.
Speed
now, is this a
limiter.
component?
It is a component.
Right. Okay, I wondered if this would be like a sequel to Speed by Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And it's...
It is specifically something called a governor.
Oh?
A governor, or a speed limiter or controller, is a device used to measure and regulate the speed of a machine, such as an engine. And a speed limiter is a specific kind of governor, used to limit the top...
Called a governor in England, of course.
Yeah, used to limit the top speed of a vehicle.
Oh, so when you see, like, on the motorway, there'll be a sign on a bus or something that will say, this vehicle is limited to 60 miles an hour.
Yes.
It's one of those.
Yes.
Ah, cool. Okay.
For some classes of vehicles and in some jurisdictions, they are a statutory requirement. For some other vehicles, the manufacturer provides a non-statutory system which may be fixed or programmable by the driver.
So does it explain how that works? Because that's actually kind of interesting. Unusually for this podcast, that's actually kind of something I want to learn about.
Yeah. So statutory in the UK, it breaks this section down into mopeds, public service vehicles, so like you suggested with coaches and things, and heavy goods vehicles. As far as how the mechanism works, I think I'd probably have to look up governor.
Because I'm just trying to think about, like, you know, your vehicle is obviously keep monitoring its speed. It has a speedometer built into it.
Yeah.
But then how does that information make its way to the governor? And does the governor just stop the accelerator from being depressed? Does it, like, at what point in the chain does it, you know, influence the motion, I guess?
I mean, it's a good question, Simon. I've gone to governor now to try and get a bit more information as to how the actual, the engineering behind this. And they've given me a classic example, apparently, which is the centrifugal governor, also known as the Watt or flyball governor.
Flyball governor.
On a reciprocating steam engine, which uses the effect of inertial force on rotating weights driven by the machine output shaft to regulate its speed by altering the input flow of steam.
I see.
Yeah, me too. A classic example, apparently. I'm not entirely sure how classic that is. It then goes into, cars, mopeds again, but it just sort of says why they do it as opposed to how they do it. Because, I mean, obviously, it will come as no surprise that most cars won't be regulated by steam input. But I can tell you that BMW, Audi, Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz limit their production cars to 250 kilometers per hour, which is 155 miles per hour.
Okay. That's interesting. So above any kind of national stuff going on, like legal stuff, they're just like, no, this is as fast as we think you should be driving this thing. Because I'm just trying to look up. There is a famous, because what you just said is what would be called in the biz technobabble. And it's just meaning-less. Well, no. The words have meaning.
Yes,
but they are combined in a way that just is complete nonsense. And there is a famous example. I'm just trying to track it down. That's like there was a guy, if I remember the story correctly, there was a presenter who would do all of these kind of technical demonstrations of selling you these technical products, and didn't actually understand what any of these words meant, but was able to get in front of the camera and deliver a script and would just nail it every time. And he eventually wrote a bit of technobabble that became like its own famous meme. I'm trying to find this now. This is because I want to see if we can read. Oh, here we go. The turbo encabulator. That's the one. Let me see if I can get a text so we can both have a go at trying to read this. Yeah.
Oh, I found the Wikipedia page for
the turbo encabulator.
Yes.
So shall I? I'll give a go at reading the original quotation from the 1944 by. Oh no! So it's not the presenter thing. I think I must be thinking of something else. So, the turbo encabulator, ladies and gentlemen. Fergus, can you put some appropriate technical bed music under this?
This is Fergus, the editor. I don't really know what technical bed music means, so I improvised.
The original machine had a base plate of prefabulated ambulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two main spurving bearings were in a direct line with the panametric fan. The latter consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic I got that far. Marsal vanes. 6 hydrocoptic marsal vanes. So fitted to the ambifactant lunar weight shaft. Wow, this actually gets a lot more difficult the further in you get. Are you following along with this?
I am, yes.
The latter consisted simply of 6 hydrocopter marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that the side fumbling was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus O deltoid type placed in panendermic semi-boloid slots in the stator, every 7th conductor being conducted by a non-reversible tremie pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the grammeters.
Very good. Bravo.
That is hard. That is actually really hard to do.
Golly.
Means nothing, people
No,
at home.
absolutely. It's just complete rubbish.
That's great, though.
I love stuff like this, though.
Yeah, well, it's in jokes within a particular field, right? Because this is saying the technobabble description is an in joke amongst engineers. Like, I remember I was talking to Medlife Crisis, Dr. Rohin Francis once, and he was like, I find beef and like drama from within niche stuff and in jokes like this the most fascinating thing. So like when I mentioned on Twitter that like the classic, you know, basses and baritones hate tenors and they think they're prima donnas, and like that is something that's very obvious to singers, but if you're not a singer, there's no reason for you to know that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, are there legal based in jokes that you're aware of?
Oh, there's lots of law student jokes, you know. So one was put up the other day. Somebody found a snail near a bottle of beer that they were drinking, and there's a famous case. I think is it Donahue versus Stevenson or something. Yeah, let me.
Don't ask me. I'm not helping you with this one.
Let me hang on. Let me find it. Here we go. Donahue versus Stevenson was a landmark court decision in Scots dialect law and English tort law by the House of Lords. It laid the foundation of the modern law of negligence, establishing general principles of duty of care, which is a massive thing when you're trying to press charges for negligence. You've got to establish that there's been a breach of duty and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I'm trying to find a wretched date for it. It was decided in 1932, and it is still the sort of...
The date! Give me the wretched date!
Barty Crouch! Junior.
The 8th of June.
Yeah, there's lots of sort of little in-joke things. But I mean, it's similar to the choral world of Howl's Col Reg, he's fine, how are you? You know.
Yeah, classic. I can't not say it.
Absolute classic.
It's almost a Pavlovian response at this point. For those of you who are perhaps confused by that at home, Howells, was it what's his first name? Herbert Howells. Yeah. Was a choral composer, and he composed several bits of music for the church, including the Collegium Regale, meaning the King's College service, but you abbreviate that to Howl's Col Reg. But it just sounds like, oh, how's Col Reg? Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, it's it never gets old. Never gets old.
There was a subreddit I found the other day that was like, what's it called? It was like niche drama or something, and this is really going to bug me now. There was basically this whole subreddit that was just about this. It was about like really niche specific bits of like or hobbyist drama, and I read like a long story about the people who maintained fighter planes on US carriers. There was like a piece that went missing on one of the planes, but nobody knew what it did. And they went on like a global hunt. They talked to every single engineer who could possibly know about it. Right. And eventually they found out that it did nothing and it was a completely redundant piece. But like there was this, you know, global effort to try and work out what the hell this tiny little like spring-loaded little thing on the cockpit did. And it turns out absolutely nothing. I'll see if I can find this. I love discovering new subreddits like this. Like, are you a Redditor? Do you use it much?
I don't really. Every now and then I go on, usually because I'm trying to look up something and an answer might be on Reddit, but I don't sort of use it in its own right, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I basically use it for. I have it on my phone for. It's a classic bathroom app. You go on and you're like, right, this is some me time. Let me have 5 minutes here, and I'm just going to waste my life on Reddit for 5 minutes.
That's interesting because I'll let you finish, but I have a new bathroom app that I'm enjoying quite a lot. But go on, keep.
I was just going to say that I basically use it other than that to keep up with what's happening in the Warhammer community, because there are a lot of very active subreddits, and it's good for memes and stuff, but it's also like keeping up with the news and how Games Workshop has messed up yet again recently, all that kind of stuff. But sorry, go on. I'm interested to hear about your your new bathroom app.
So the new bathroom app that I have is I've ventured into Stardew Valley.
Oh my god, Dan. Oh no.
I've probably played, I don't know, maybe I literally only open it when I'm going to the bathroom. So I've probably played 40 minutes of it in the last week or something. Mm-hmm. But it's just very chill. It's very nice. I've got a new phone because my old iPhone 10 was on its last legs, really. So I've got a 12 Pro now, which is very nice and slightly bigger and much faster. And I must say, I'm really enjoying Stardew Valley. It's good. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to Critics' Corner. I appreciate with saying that. Maybe I need to tie things back to, what was it, speed limiter.
Oh yeah, that's what we were meant to be talking. I totally forgot. That was what we were meant to be talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll park that. We'll put a pin in it to use a Dan Mooreism.
Indeed.
And we'll come back to that in Critics' Corner. So yes, sorry, go on. You tell me more about how you limit the speed of vehicles.
Well, the article itself only really goes into great detail in between statutory and non-statutory limitations. So as I mentioned, some European, so Citroën, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Peugeot, Renault, Tesla, as well as some Ford and Nissan car and van models have driver-controlled speed limiters fitted. Which are either fitted or available as an optional sort of accessory. But as you mentioned, things like coaches or buses in the UK are limited to either 65 or 65 miles per hour or 100 kilometres per hour, depending on their age. Heavy goods vehicles have a mandatory 60. So whenever you're on the sort of dual carriageway or motorway, that's why they're always in the left-hand lane, because they literally can't go any faster. And then there's a lot of information on mopeds.
Mopeds? Oh!
Yeah, so it says here, the legal definition of a moped in the United Kingdom was revised in 1977 to include a maximum design speed of 30 miles per hour. This was further revised to 50 kilometres per hour, which is 31 miles per hour, in the 1990s. Then 45 kilometres an hour, 28 miles per hour in the late 2000s, to fall in line with Unified European Union licensing regulations. To comply, what's this? So it says, to comply with this, mopeds typically include some method of onboard speed restriction to prevent the machine exceeding the prescribed speed on a flat road in still air with a rider of standard height and weight. This is classic law, isn't it?
Wow, that's incredibly specific.
Early restriction methods could be defeated by simple physical modifications, e.g. cutting out the restriction plate. Brilliant.
They were like, damn, we didn't think this through.
Modern electronic limiters are at the very least require replacing the friction rollers in a scooter's CVT, or even changing wheel size and or reprogramming the engine management system, all in an effort to fool the sensors into detecting a lower than actual road speed. Oh, interesting. Yes, of course. Yes, so if you do change the wheel size, even by some small margin, it will detect a lower speed.
Yeah.
Because the RPM will change, won't it? Or rather, how it measures.
So this is interesting because when I was 17? Yeah, I was 17. I did motorbike training, which is exactly the same training that you do for a moped. And I remember when I was researching, what practically could I get, that actually they do get really into the nitty gritty when it comes to moped and bike stuff. And one of the key things is on a moped you can buy and ride a moped at the age of 16, whereas with a motorbike you had to be 17. But with that comes the speed restrictions. So I actually do remember this. And it also I bet you I have something similar in my electric bike.
Yeah, you must have.
Because the way that the electric bike works, well, my type of electric bike, is that when you get to 25 kilometers per hour, it will stop assisting you.
It will explode.
Yeah, it's like it's the opposite of the movie Speed. It's
Yes.
the speed limiter.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Imagine if it actually did. And just a warning to new users: if you do exceed the speed limit, your bicycle will explode.
You're just looking down, like sweat beading on your forehead as you're going down a hill.
Yeah,
riding the brakes.
Just keep tapping the brakes. Come on.
I hit whilst I was going down because for people who haven't seen, I've done a video on. I just looked at my webcam as if this was a stream. That's force of habit. Basically, I did this video on why I got an e-bike and how I think they're great. And the main reason is that Bath, where I live, is incredibly hilly. And I was going down a hill to get into the centre because I live sort of on the edge. Basically, I clocked 65 kilometers per hour.
Grief.
going down the hill on my bike. Which was actually surprisingly didn't even feel that dangerous. If I'm completely
What's 65 kilometers per hour in old money?
I want to say it's a bit below 40. No, it's pretty much bang on 40 miles per hour. I'm going to say. If you want to whack that into Google, I want to see.
So you would likely have been you'd have been at least 10 miles over the probable speed limit on the road that you were on.
Possibly,
because most roads, if the classic rule is sort of if it's lampposts and no reminders, you're in a 30 zone.
Yeah.
Unless it's stated otherwise.
Let me just have a quick look. I want to see. Did I technically break the law? I mean, I assume you're the lawyer here. I assume that bikes also have to obey by the speed limit technically.
Yeah, I assume so as well. I've never actually looked.
I don't think it normally comes into consideration.
Do bicycles? Generally speaking, on normal public highways, the speed limits do not apply to. Oh yeah, but that's because they won't be able to travel at 60 or 70 miles per hour.
I'm literally going to have to go on Google Street View and try and find a speed sign. No, that's telling me there's a school there. That just means there's bonus points if you hit something. That's the joke. For lawyers listening to the podcast, that was a joke. I don't actually hit children with my bike, nor do I attempt to.
This is interesting. So, Rule 123 of the Highway Code includes a table that sets out the speed limits for various types of vehicle on various categories of road. The table does not include bicycles. The statutory law behind speed limits read like... So here we go. Speed limits listed in the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984. It shall not be lawful for a person to drive a motor vehicle on a restricted road at a speed exceeding 30 miles per hour. A person who drives a motor vehicle on a road at a speed exceeding a limit imposed by or under any enactment to which this section applies shall be guilty of an offence. As such, cyclists who breach the speed limit may not be prosecuted for a speeding offence, but they can, however, be prosecuted for cycling furiously or wanton and furious cycling.
Yeah, and that includes being drunk at the wheel. Well, the handlebars.
Wanton and furious cycling is the closest offence to dangerous driving that a cyclist can be charged with, although it can only ever be used when the circumstances of a cycling accident involve someone suffering serious injury or death as a result of the cyclist's actions.
So the speed limit on that road was, in fact, 30 miles an hour. I can verify that now.
Brilliant.
So technically, breaking the law, breaking the law. Don't do that at home, kids.
Well,
make
as
sure
we've just established,
test your brakes.
as we've just established, you're not breaking the law.
Yes, sorry, I
because
was not.
You because you wouldn't be.
But you say that it was a motor vehicle, but my bike does have a motor.
Yeah, that's true.
So is that I don't actually know if how that fits in with.
I suppose it then you have to look up as to whether is an electric bike
a motor vehicle
classed as a motor vehicle. As long as your electric bike complies with the restrictions listed above, you do not need to register the bike as you would a motor vehicle. Oh, then so you wouldn't have been breaking the law. Okay.
Whew. Was worried for a second then.
Interesting. Look, we're learning stuff. Good grief.
I'm learning, Super Nintendo Charmers. Oh God, I hate myself sometimes. Wow. Right. Okay. So if this Wikipedia article was an orange down, we've juiced it for all of the content we can. I think
so too.
That means that we are now going to be talking about your choral piece of the week.
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please.
Did that sound professional? I was trying to make it sound almost like a professional podcast.
I think it sounded very, very professional.
It's almost like we have a big episode coming up soon, and we're just we're trying to lead up to it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think there's a big episode coming at all, is there? So it's not like we have a really special guest that was fantastic and wonderful to talk to, and in fact, several wonderful guests.
The fact that Hugo was able to clone himself several times.
It's a wonder. It's a real wonder.
But that's not happening. So that's actually. If you think that the Wikicast can actually pull something off that's like impressive in any way, I've got a bridge to sell you. That's not us, fam. That's definitely not this podcast. Anyway, choral piece of the week, Dan.
My choral piece of the week. My choral piece of the week is. It's a sort of complicated one because it is a choral piece and it's just the one piece.
Right.
However, I can't show you a copy of it, and I can't lead you to a recording of it, because there's no recording of it yet. And here's the rub.
Right.
So my choral piece of the week is a setting of A Spotless Rose text.
Lovely.
So you'll be most familiar with that with likely Paul Mealer.
Mm-hmm. And Howells.
And Howells, of course. This particular arrangement has been written by a chap called Aaron King, who I don't know but would love to meet. And I think, as far as I'm aware, he read music at Oxford and he's written lots of stuff. But anyway, weeks ago, I was talking about how I was down in Truro singing with a choir and then was in Oxford singing with a choir because we were recording a Christmas CD that's going to be released this year, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Well, one of the pieces that's going to be on this CD is his setting of A Spotless Rose, and it's absolutely staggeringly beautiful. It's really, really sort of harmonically interesting and sort of moves around quite a bit. But I just absolutely adore it. And that's a brilliant, brilliant moment where full choir texture suddenly changes to just divisi tenors and basses on the text. The rose which I am singing, where from Isaiah said, I think is the text. But it makes me well up every time. Not only I sang it, but also listening back to it. And the listening back has been very exciting because we're getting to the very, very latest sort of final stages of post-production on the album before it gets sent off to publishers, which is super, super exciting. So I've been listening back and I think it's going to be a really amazing disc. And rest assured, when it is sort of released and things, I probably won't shut up about it.
Yeah, we'll not hear the end of it.
No, but when it is released, I will then also be able to provide a link to this setting of A Spotless Rose because it's beautiful. But I'm afraid I can't do that now, so you're just going to have to wait. But it's
theatre of the mind, people. You just got to imagine it.
Yeah,
just trust Dan. It is beautiful.
But it's it's just absolutely gorgeous. So that's A Spotless Rose by Aaron King, and you will hear it at some point. That I can assure you.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I'm looking forward to hearing that because I do, as you say, it's a lovely text and it has been done beautifully in the past. So I'm excited to hear a new version of it, potentially a new favourite. Well, thank you for that one, Dan. That was very nice.
My pleasure.
That leads us on to the next section, however. Stardew Valley, Dan. Talk me through it. Why should I download this video game?
It's harmless. It's very relaxing. It's good, wholesome fun. I haven't really done anything in it yet, except for sort of like clearing weeds and rocks and things. And I think I've got a quest to go into town and talk to people. But it's very wholesome. It's an award-winning RPG. And I think that it's done in a sort of pixel art sort of style. It's probably a better way of describing it, really. But it's very attractive looking, and there's lovely music, and it's all very sort of lovely and pretty and relaxing. So as I say, I haven't really done anything in the game yet properly as far as playing through the story, but it's great. I am currently growing. I think I'm growing turnips. I
It's a simple life. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
I used to be massively into Farmville though, so I think I'm sort of getting like an old Farmville kick.
you?
I really loved Farmville, yeah, big time.
Because I was my jam was for the middle of that initial burst of the pandemic was Animal Crossing, which I know that they are different games and that yours is explicitly about farming, but in my head they are really quite similar. I don't know if you've played any Animal Crossing games.
No, I've seen a lot of playthroughs of it. I used to watch Simon on his Twitch when he was playing it.
Oh yeah, he used
Simon
to play a lot.
Lane,
Yeah.
Honeydew.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I have never played it myself, and I don't think I really want to. I don't think it's really I can watch somebody, but I'm like this. I remember having this conversation with you. I really love watching people play games. I'm very very happy not to actually play the game myself, because I like the sort of the story and the spectacle, and being able to just sit back and watch somebody do a playthrough of a game that I really want to play. I'm quite happy doing that. And it saves me money because I don't need to go and buy the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the analogy I always make is it's like being a sleepover and you're watching your friend. It's their turn on the console.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you don't have enough you don't have enough controllers for everyone, so you've got to take turns.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get that. But I mean, that's interesting because again, perhaps somewhat ignorant position, but to me, they are very similar games.
I think they are similar. I think that's perfectly sort of acceptable. I suppose it's more. I don't know. Well, I can't really go into the finer points of Stardew Valley because I've heard lots of great things and I've seen people play it and it gets quite sort of exciting. And as far as the story and RPG aspect goes, I think it's more that than like planting and growing things and running the farm. That's sort of a thing to sort of waste time in and tap about, keeping you sort of engaged and probably psychologically tapping into some sort of gratification, endorphin reward system thing, which is probably what keeps you in the game. But other stuff, it's so much more sort of story forward and story led, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, like that is similar to Animal Crossing in the sense that you have like villagers that you interact with and you can develop relationships with them and stuff like that. I think. It's been a long time since I played this. Like, I very much had a kick of using my Switch during that initial burst of the pandemic, and it was particularly when I actually had COVID and I was just trapped upstairs in our house on my own. Like, I played a lot of Animal Crossing. I played a fair bit of the new Pokemon, like Pokemon. Which one did I get? Shield, I think. And it's actually been a while since I've sat down and played video games on a Switch. Like, I've played a bit on the PC. Like, I played some Humankind. I've been playing some Slay the Spire, which I think we've talked about both of those games. Which I'm a huge fan of Slay the Spire. I actually broke a rule that I had, which was that I would not download a game to my phone because I knew that I would get distracted by it. And I was convinced that, if I were to download a game, then that's it. My productivity has just gone out of the window.
Yeah. And
it actually hasn't been that bad, but it's one of these games that I feel like you get a 30-minute burst of it, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I've had my fill. This is enough for me.
Speaking of games, I was going to ask you whether you have considered or have been approached
by Raid Shadow Legends?
By jumping on the New World bandwagon.
No, I actually don't know very much about the game. I've seen it, and I know that it's a 4X and it's similar to Civ and Humankind, but I've not actually played it, and to be honest, I don't know why, but I just have very little interest in doing so. Can't really explain why.
It's the new big MMORPG, isn't it?
Oh, is it an MMO? I thought it was a 4X.
No. It's so New World is a big new MMORPG. Developed by Amazon Games Orange County and published by Amazon Games, released on September 28th, 2021. So it's super, super new, and everybody's playing it because certainly in the sort of MMO world on Twitch, obviously World of Warcraft has been deteriorating to such a ridiculous level now that basically the player base is negligible. So
when you say deteriorating, do you mean the player numbers are deteriorating,
yes,
or the game itself is?
Well, I personally think both.
Okay.
The game isn't nearly as good as it used to be, and I think they've made some really stupid story decisions, and I kind of lost interest totally. That's why I played Classic. I didn't play any of the new retail game.
You did? Yeah, I remember.
But yeah, more and more people have just been leaving, and I think it's probably going to die a death, and I think it needs to. as sad as that is. So a load of people moved over to Final Fantasy.
Yes, and I've seen a lot of people playing that.
Because that's sort of really, really taking people sort of by storm now, especially with World of Warcraft sub numbers dropping. But this new world thing looks good. And actually, if you were to sort of play any MMO or be interested in any sort of MMO, I think this is exactly the kind of thing that you'd like.
You keep trying to lead me down this path, Dan. This this path of making me play MMOs, and I am continually scared that you will eventually win one day, and all of my product. I'll wake up several months from now, covered in Cheeto dust, surrounded by Mountain Dew, and be like, "Where's my wife? Oh wait, no. Oh God, that was all in the game." And and I would have lost months and months of my existence on Earth. I don't think I have the willpower for it, Dan. I think you clearly have stronger willpower than me if you can play these games and not give in to them.
I mean, I say this, I haven't played it.
But you played MMOs extensively, is what I mean.
I've played an MMO extensively, I suppose, yeah. So I can understand when you're bitten by the bug. But I just mean sort of objectively as far as how the game's story and what it's about and what you can actually do. It's not sort of. It's not high fantasy particularly in any sense. There's a lot of sort of engineering and crafting and things that you can do as opposed to just sort of waving a magic wand around and pouncing about everywhere in robes, which I love and do on a semi-regular basis. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it'd be cool for you to sort of at least have a look at and consider. Not to mention the fact that you'll probably get great Twitch stats for it. Because everyone wants to watch.
Quite possibly, yeah. Here's a question for you. If, based on what you just said,
yes,
if Harry Potter LARPing were a thing, do you think you would do
yes. Of course I would. Of course I would.
Okay, take me through your LARP character. What would you play as?
My name would be Harry Potter. No, It's interesting because there's a game coming out. It's a Harry Potter game. I think it's due to release at the end of this year or maybe early next year, and there's so much hype about it.
Oh, I think I remember this, yeah.
Let me find...
Can you be a turf character in the game?
Can I be a turf character?
Yeah, seeing as, authorial voice and all that, I was just wondering
I see. I see.
Because that's the thing. I like this is the whole death of the author thing. But like, I enjoyed reading the books so much, and the films, some of them are pretty good, and like, I have so many fond memories of it. But like, the way that J.K. Rowling has conducted herself and the beliefs that she has espoused subsequently has very much tainted the whole experience since. And like, if there were Harry Potter LARPing or a game that came out, like, I would. If I were unaware of all the JKR stuff, I would probably really enjoy it. But now you're faced with this basic moral dilemma of, if I do this, am I actually implicitly supporting those beliefs by giving her money?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I remember years and years ago we had this conversation when we'd been to see a film about how you separate art and the artist. Do you remember?
What was the film?
I think we may have watched. We went to see something in the cinema, and the sort of analogy I gave was me thinking that the film American Beauty is a perfect film, despite the fact that it obviously stars Kevin Spacey and the complications that sort of arise around there. In my mind, it's sort of similar with J.K. Rowling's stuff. I absolutely do not agree with her comments that she's made, and it's awfully complicated. But in my mind too, I can separate the work that she's produced quite easily, so much so in fact that even if you were to take away the dreadful comments that she's made, the original 7 books I adore. The stuff that's coming out now with Fantastic Beasts and Fantastic Beats, that's Dwight Schrute's book, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and the sort of Ilvermorny School of Magic, which is like the American one that's sort of just kind of cropped out, and then all of this other stuff I don't care for, to be honest. I know it's canon. I just don't care. I recognise the council has made a decision, but it's a stupid decision, so I'm ignoring it. It just doesn't interest me at all, so I can keep my own childhood love and memories of those books fairly intact. And this game, it's called Hogwarts Legacy. Right. And it looks fantastic. Like, it really seriously does look good. And I will likely want to play it. However, Oh, no, it can be played on the PlayStation 4. That's fine. Not that I can't remember the last time I turned it on, in fairness.
Are we getting too old for video games? Is that what's happening to us?
I think we might be. Given the game that I'm sort of playing, like, I don't know, 2 minutes of every day is Stardew Valley.
Right, just pretend to have a simple life.
There was a time where I'd get quite excited to watch a game of Rocket League or something, but now I'm like, oh, it's a bit loud. It's too much. I can't do it.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Maybe are you going grey yet by any chance?
Yeah, I find occasional grey hairs.
Oh no! I was really expecting you to say no then.
I can't wait to go grey though.
I mean, I like the fact that I'm going what I think is salt and pepper hair. I think it's called. Like I'm getting it at the temples. Yeah, badger. It's you can use my hair as a brush in a pinch. Like I quite like it. But like I always imagine you as having this boyhood, continually just fresh faced, and don't look more than about 15.
No, it's not gonna
until
last.
You die.
It's not gonna last forever. I mean, I'm trying not to think about the fact that it's my 25th birthday next year.
No,
which is mental, really.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that. I don't know I can't imagine how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Bloody hell. Right, okay, before we get weirded out too much, we should probably actually thank the people that make this podcast possible.
That's a good idea.
Top lad.
And that jingle can only mean one thing. It's that glorious time when we get to say an enormous thank you to those who support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Wikicast. Simon, why is Patreon so important?
Patreon is so important to us because it means the show can exist. It means the show thinks and therefore is. Well, actually, I don't know. Can you say that the Wikicast thinks in any way, shape or form?
I'm not sure. I might be pushing it a bit.
So the Patreon basically pays for our hosting costs. It also pays for our wonderful editor, Fergus. And hopefully in the near future, we are going to be able to pay for the outrageous price of fuel that will allow Dan to come and visit me, and we can actually film some stuff, including hopefully some painting content, which let's face it, it's basically drinking content with some paint thrown in. That's probably a truer representation. So thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. And if you do so, you can support at $1 a month or $5 a month, which we basically don't ask for very much because this podcast isn't worth it, and because our costs are relatively small. So we are very appreciative of everybody who does so. If you do support at $5 a month, then we will give you a shout out on the show, because you can choose to be either a top cat or a top dog. Currently at 25 to 22, I believe we said, Dan.
That is correct.
Before we started doing this, that we have 25 top cats and 22 top dogs, which is a bit too close to my liking. We got to make sure that the cats stay on top, the true superior pet. Well, I would like to thank the top cats because they're obviously the best, and those lovely people are Miko Cipolla, Jerry Moore, Nathan Flaherty, Ultra Piggy 123, Violet Hatch, Abu El Ella the Physics Boy, Simon P, Jack Easton, Izzy CC, Nafi Iftikhar, Christopher Betterton, Dame Valerie III, Layla Medina, Oliver Craigie, Will Janice Humphreys, Rents Kirk, Oliver Burkhart, Omar Miranda, Cole Mansfield, Princess Andromeda, Chuckocat, Ben Dent, Isabella Strowski, Matt Maguire, and Daniel Hanvey.
And I would like to say an enormous thank you to the top dogs, who are increasing in number every week. And I am excited to think that we may surpass top cats. I'm sure we will. A huge thank you to Eric Bolliger, Jay Wright, Ben McMurtry, Maggie, Peter Reed, Kodzo, Colin J. Brown, Alistair Fortune, Eve Sharples, Lexi at Front Desk, Hassie Hansen, Aaron Jorgensen, Henry VII, King of England and of France, Lord of Ireland, Naflarok, Adrian with an N, Chan, Aaron Carey Augustin, Ben Caples, Josh Shiaga, Elsbeth, Sam Harvey, the everlasting student, Michael Gustafsson, and Martin Narciso. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I do apologise for laughing at the name Shagger. Which is not what the name is. Sure. I just heard it in my head.
Josh, you must you need to email in and tell me if I'm absolutely butchering that. I probably am, and even if you do email in, I might not change because it always brings a smile to my face. But yeah, do just let me know if you'd like me to say it properly.
This is me and Bake Off, like the new series of Bake Off, which I've been loving, and Jurgen is life. But there's an old woman on there who I call Mary. I know it's not her name. I just don't care enough to actually learn her proper name.
Yeah.
So, I genuinely... Margaret? I think it does begin with an M, but she's Mary to me because I find her intensely annoying, just like that couple on Gogglebox. So, same. Yeah, you can email in. We might ignore it because we think our way of doing things is funnier. Top lad. And lastly, that's definitely not how we start this.
And lastly, we go to the segment that isn't last.
The anti-penultimate segment, to quote Michael Graham. We find ourselves in the anti-penultimate segment, everybody. The correspondence corner. Is anti-penultimate, is that just garbled Latin? Anti-penultimate. Hang on. Is that actually... Oh, wow, it actually is in wider usage than just Michael. I don't know why I doubted you, mate. Sorry. We find ourselves in Correspondence Corner. We've got some emails here that we'd love to read to you because some people have very kindly emailed in at spongyelectric@gmail.com. Starting with Dan. Not you, the other one.
No, not me.
Well, one of the many. There are so many Dans in my life. Who has emailed in with the Wikicast and the Greatest Generation. A great combination. Dan and Simon, just wanted to drop a quick note of thanks for the Wikicast. I've been a long-time viewer of Simon's YouTube channel, but only discovered the podcast within the last year. It's kept me company on many walks and drives, and being an American, provides me with a unique perspective listening to something from across the pond. By unique perspective, what do you think Dan means?
I think he's trying to be nice. And what he means is provides me with a nightmarish insight into the minds of two British fools.
The apocalypse happened months ago here. We are in our bunker, periodically sending out these broadcasts, pretending that the world is just going on as normal. But we still got that free healthcare. So Dan goes on. I was listening a few months back, and you mentioned that you had listeners from Alaska. For God's sakes. This again. And asked us to write in. I didn't at the time. But in a recent show, I laughed out loud at Simon, who almost went to This Old Enterprise bit from The Greatest Generation, another podcast at the top of my listening.
Gosh.
Now, when you're putting together an email to the Wikicast, you've got to use double plywood. This is a bit that Dan won't understand because he has neither seen the show nor listened to The Greatest Generation.
No, he's also not really listening either.
If your podcast host is not listening, Starbot will do fine.
Yeah.
Dan continues, it was great to hear the crossover, as unintentional as it may have been. I've got to say, that The Greatest Generation is the one podcast that I listen to religiously now.
Really?
I just don't have the time for podcasts because I work from home. I rarely need to do I need to travel any kind of distance that merits a podcast. Like when I cycle to and from my parents or to people in Keynsham where they live, like I can get a podcast in on that journey because it's about 45 minutes.
Sure.
So that's actually great, but like I don't do that frequently enough.
No.
So I basically will listen to The Greatest Generation whilst I'm doing the washing up or whilst I'm doing something work-wise that doesn't require my attention. But there just aren't that many situations where I listen to them. Whereas you drive a lot, like, don't you? If you're going to Buckfast Abbey, for example, like I imagine that's probably prime podcast.
Either prime podcast or certainly Radio 4. But yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Because we wake up to Radio 4 now. We've worked out that with our Google speakers, we can tell it to play Radio 4 at a time in the morning.
Yeah. Do you do it at a time in the morning that means that you can listen to the Pips?
So normally we get up at 6:45.
Right. So you'd hear the Pips at 7.
So you do get the 7 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I say that I am semi-conscious. I feel like the Pips now are actually my alarm clock because that's the moment you're like, right, okay,
yeah,
up we get.
Here we go.
Let's face another nightmare day in our bunker. But thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that we've got some friends of DeSoto in the readership because if people like Star Trek, I was actually recommending it to Tom Clark from the Oxcast the other day because if you like our sense of humor. And if you're a nerd and you like Star Trek, I just can't stress enough how much you would like The Greatest Generation. If you don't if you're not watching the show at the moment, just pick an episode of Star Trek that you really like and find the Greatest Generation episode that's been recorded about it, and just listen, and you'll get it. You'll know. But thank you to Dan for the lovely email saying thanks again for the great content. Best wishes to both of you from the Last Frontier.
Gosh.
Lovely. Which it turns out we thought it was the edge of the kind of Gamma Quadrant, but it's not. It's actually Alaska. But we actually have an Alaskan listener, Dan. That is the other big buried lead in this email.
Incredible.
Unlike those fake Alaskans that we got before. Ugh.
We've got an email here from Anne. Anne's email is titled, "You guys saved my life and teeth."
Oh, okay.
It goes on. Dear Dr. and Mrs., dear Simon and Dan, dear Clark and more.
I like that.
I'm already incredibly sorry to be writing this email, as I am highly sedated and initially was convinced Simon is called Sam.
Oh, yes. This is going to be gold.
But as you can already guess, I really want to thank you for saving my life today.
No, Dan, I'm reading the text with you. Can you please pronounce that as it's been written?
But as you can already guess, I really, really want to thank Yoz for saving my life today. I was scheduled to get my wisdom teeth removed today. I was in panic. I was in panic. I love that.
I can't get out!
I hate syringes and I hate dentists, and this is the worst thing that could have happened to me, as the doctor I had an appointment with didn't have an open spot to do it with anaesthesia.
What?
My gosh. So when I saw this morning that you had uploaded a new podcast, I knew it was fate. It was fate that made it possible to me to be tortured and at the same time listen to your angelic voices accompanied by the sounds of the drills and muffled screams.
What? So you're telling me that somebody underwent dental procedures listening to this?
I mean...
What? That's why would you make it worse for yourself?
It gets better, but our Dark Lord had something different in store for me. The doctor spontaneously decided that it's not as severe as I initially thought, so he said, this, we'll do it in a year with anaesthesia.
Oh my god.
And I'm wholly convinced that this happened because of you guys. The release of your new episode saved my life and my teeth. You spared me of agony. Blessed be you forever and always. Anne, aged 2021 minus 4,000 plus 2,000 minus 42 plus 21 years old.
So they are 21.
Right. P.S. I'm really high on sedative. You can't tell, Anne. I'm really high on sedatives, so I probably won't even remember that I wrote this thing. I love your podcast so much. You are the best people ever. I hope you're happy and enjoy every day as much as you can. Thanks for doing this. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I'm glad that your teeth are all right. And goodness me.
I want to be Anne listening to this episode back.
Yeah.
And being like, what? That's me.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I have no memory of this place. That's fantastic, Anne. Thank you so much.
You have no power here, dentist with anaesthesia.
Dentist with anaesthesia. Dan, we have a very troubling email here.
Okay.
We are going to need to do an audio drama, Dan.
Oh no, not again.
And unfortunately, we actually are out of time in this recording session because you've got to dash. But let me tell you, folks, in episode 101 of the Wikicast, the Holopod, written by Alex, has been sent in formatted LaTeX.
Oh.
And there's a lot here. And there's also what...
I'm just opening the PDF now.
I'm skimming it, and there's some gore in here. We're going to have to dedicate like 20 minutes of the episode to this.
I cannot wait.
Right, well, we can reveal this now. But we have actually recorded the 100th episode of the show, the next episode of the Wikicast. And I did realise that in that episode, we never actually reflect on the fact that we'd recorded 100 episodes.
I know, which is insane.
Well, technically, this is our 100th episode because, of course, the pilot was episode 0.
Absolutely.
So if you've listened to all of them, you've now listened to 100 episodes of this.
Which is remarkable. And you've listened to it over the period, I think it was as of June this year, we'd been going for 4 years. So,
yeah,
coming up to 4.5 years of this absolute madness. But what a journey.
Remember when we said that we'd be doing this weekly, and we've ended up with 100 episodes in 4 years?
4.5 years. Look, I mean, we take things at our own pace. I think that's fine.
On average, every 2 weeks, I think, is a perfectly fine release schedule.
Yeah, the operative words there are on average.
Yes, exactly. We're really counting on the first half of that run to kind of bulk up the numbers.
Yes.
It's absolutely bananas that we've been doing this for 4 years. The community of people that have built up around this, all the lovely people who emailed in, the people who are on our Discord server, people are wonderful.
Yeah, you're the community, and the podcast is only as fun and as beautiful as the community around it, and you have all surpassed that with tremendous grace, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to keep doing this. So
honestly, reading the emails at the ends of these episodes is one of my favorite parts of the week.
Absolutely.
Like, getting a chance to hear the fire hose of madness that comes from this community is wonderful.
Yeah.
And to, we don't really get a chance to say it in the next episode because of the nature of what we did. We're not criminals. The 100th episode is just us committing a crime and then going on the run in real time.
That there's been a fuel crisis. We've actually got all of it. That's where it is. We've just got it in lots of plastic bags dotted around both mine and Simon's house.
It's a mess.
And in the bunker.
And it really smells.
It smells so bad. I'm getting a headache.
But basically, we don't have a chance to say it in the episode, but I would certainly like to say thank you very much for listening. And reading, I should say, of course. And you make our lives richer for being here with us. So much as it's a silly podcast, thank you very much for spending your time on Earth listening to us.
Here's to you and your beautiful eyes.
But in episode 101, I think we will have to dedicate a good chunk, maybe 20 minutes or so, to the Holopod by Alex.
Absolutely.
They've even done a custom logo for us. It's quite something. So
it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
You're going to have to wait for 2 episodes' time for that, but that is coming. Much like the holidays, the Holopod is coming.
Holopod is coming.
Holopod is coming. Holopod is coming, and it was written by Alex. I tried.
You did try.
Well, Dan, what have we learned about today?
Today, Simon, we learned about speed limiter.
Ah, yes.
That thing, which is a governor used to limit the top speed of a vehicle.
Which I may well have on my electric bike, which is quite actually cool to finally have. Is this the first time we've had an article where we've actually had like a physical example that one of us owns of the thing?
It might be.
We've never owned a Suleiman the Magnificent, for example.
No. I mean, we both presumably own Chair, but not the sculpture.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, the sculpture. That's true. We don't own the sculpture. I forgot about Chair.
That was Chair, not Cher.
If only.
I can't believe that it worked.
So we talked about that, and Dan talked about his newfound passion for Stardew Valley, which is, going to be coming to a Twitch stream near you.
Absolutely. Never. Yeah, never.
And
Simon's made a public promise to give New World a try. The MMORPG that's taking.
Did I try? Did I say that?
Yeah. No, you did. Let's just pretend you did. So that's going to be coming to Twitch. So you'll be able to catch that on Thursday nights for 4 hours. He's going to have an absolutely brilliant time doing it, and I might drop in and just see how he's going. And as a seasoned MMORPG veteran, I think we can all look forward to something really spectacular.
Your hotbar management is trash. Please delete the game from your system.
Exactly.
That's what Dan sounds like when he's gaming.
It is. That's what I sound like most of the time.
And then we also had an interesting pick of Choral Piece of the Week, which we could neither play you, and you cannot hear either, because the recording's not available yet.
Completely pointless Choral
us.
Piece of the Week, but you will find out eventually. But that's A Spotless Rose by Aaron King.
And that's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice, join the Discord, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
MMO recommendations, hobby drama, and in-jokes, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole,
and we'll see you next time.
Levels. Ah! Yeah, okay.